Hey everybody, welcome back to Family Friday. I am George Willett. This is the Bible Basics series on the Sermon on the Mount. We are in lesson 23, believe it or not, studying the Sermon on the Mount. It's found in book of Matthew, chapter 5, 6, and 7. It is a famous sermon given by Jesus. So many people quote from this. There's so much deep doctrinal teaching, deep teaching of the Bible in these verses. Tonight we are going to do Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 to 11, and it's ask, seek, and knock. And you're going to find out why as soon as we read it. Again, as always, we're going to start off with this whole idea of what Jesus is doing. Jesus is doing a commentary on the Word of God. He is correcting a lot of misunderstandings that the scribes and the Pharisees, the rabbis, had been teaching and preaching about God. He says, you've heard it said, well, I say. You have read that God said this, but I tell you this. With authority, Jesus, as God in the flesh, is showing us what it means to be a follower of God. Jesus' phrase for it is the kingdom of heaven. When we are citizens of the kingdom of heaven, we are in a right relationship with God. And it transforms us, it changes us, and there's a different way that we are supposed to live. So he starts with verse 7 and he says, okay, he's talked about judging, he's talked about discernment and not spending a lot of time spinning our wheels, trying to share the things of God with those who don't want to receive it. And then he turns and he starts talking to us again about us, not about those outside. And he says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Okay, before we go on, let's do these two verses real quick. This relationship, some people talk about, this is the prayer that we go to God in prayer. It's another dialogue on prayer, but it's more than that in my opinion. And again, we could get so deep in each of these, but I just want to do kind of real easy Bible basics. This relationship is one of intentionality. In this relationship, God has done everything he needs to do to save us, but we do too, and these are active words. You need to ask. You need to engage, and that could be this prayer with God. And if you're asking with the right heart and the right intent, God's going to give. And if you're seeking, if you're taking this time and this energy to put God first and to seek after the righteousness of God, you're going to find it. So many people say, I just want to know God. And I'm like, how are you seeking him? What are you doing? Are you sitting at home on your phone, or are you reading the Bible? Are you going to church and engaging in the worship time and in the Bible studies? And are you looking up good content? And are you serving? And they're like, no. I said, well, you're not really seeking. And for those who knock, it will be opened. Again, there's this way to God, and there's a part that God does, and there's a part we do. But we're guaranteed that if we take the effort, it's not work to knock, but it's being interested. It's wanting to go in. And if we do this, if we are this involved, if we are this active, if we are this engaged with the kingdom, then we're going to receive. We're going to be given. We're going to have it open for us. And he goes on again, he's telling this, and then he's kind of explaining why we can trust in God. He says, or what man is there among you who, when his son asks for a loaf, some bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, he will not give him a snake, will he? Trying to help people. Jesus was so easy to understand, honestly, and he used such basic ideas of the love that a father will have for his son. And that if his son is hungry and says, can I have some bread? What father is going to give a stone and say, here, this will do? Or a son that says, I need a fish, instead gives him a snake to play with? understand when Jesus, like when I'm telling you to engage the Father, I want you to understand who the Father is. If you then, being evil, man, does that hurt. We as people, we're not God, we're not perfect, we're not good, and each of us has our share of evil intent and wickedness. But he says, if you then, being evil, know how to give a good gift to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give what is good to those who ask him? We don't hear this quite the way that they would have heard it back then. God the Father, this personal relationship and understanding that he is a loving Father, he is a good Father, he is holy and separate from us. He's in heaven. And heaven is this weird word that really basically it just means where the presence of God is. So if our Father who is separate from us and he is waiting to engage us, if we give good things to our kids, how much better, how much more do you think the Father will give to us for those who ask? Now asking, it's not that God's a genie. It's not that he is a slot machine. It is that when you have a transformed relationship, you will be asking in righteousness for the things of God, and he will definitely give you those things. It's not about asking for a car, new house, or the perfect kids or anything like that. It's about being in the kingdom and asking for kingdom things. So are you asking, or are you seeking, are you knocking for the things that your Father has planned for you? It's a question we can all ask this week. God bless. We'll see you next week.